1% of the world population suffers from autism spectrum disorder.
That means that 3.5 million Americans are affected by autism today.
And this number is growing. Studies have shown that the prevalence of autism has been increasing by 6 to 15% each year since 2002.
With the rise in autism diagnosis, many questions arise. The first being, what is autism, and how does it affect such a large segment of the population?
We interviewed Dr. Nguyen of the Brain Treatment Center to find out.
Autism, so far, by the clinical definition, is a sort of developmental disorder that children at a certain age, they couldn't meet the certain milestones, so that they will have a problem of communication, they withdraw from social activities. And autism is a symptoms, so it's a collection of symptoms. Assuming I am an autistic kid, okay, when I look at you, I feel horrible, not because you're bad. And in my mind, that I see everything is overloading. They're not just having problem communication, but they feel horrible, horrible pain. In the United States, we're 1 out of 58. This type of number, if you follow the trajectory of the statistical change, it will probably affect every family in the next 10 years. Up to this point, I would say there's no treatment for autism.
In addition to these clinics and universities, charitable organizations have been set up to provide information and help to individuals and families affected by autism. These organizations depend on federal and state dollars to function. We interviewed Larry Landauer of the Regional Center of Orange County, a private organization contracted by the state of California to help those with developmental disabilities.
California has made a substantial financial commitment. And for instance, in California, our 300,000 people that we serve is about $5.3 billion, of which nearly 2.2 or 2.3 billion is federal dollars. So you can see if the state dollars were taken away, we're not even funding half. It'd be less than half of what we're doing right now for all the people. And we would be in a similar situation to the rest of the states that only have the federal dollars. All the other states have waiting lists, and some as long as 14 years. California made a commitment in 1969 that they were going to serve people with developmental disabilities. That was huge because that meant California tax dollars were going to be used for this. Where the challenge is happening is all these vendors, these programs that provide services have not had an increase since 2002, 2003. We do have vendors going out of business because they can't operate, hardly anybody can operate on what you were making in 2003 and 2016. That needs to be repaired, or this system could be on somewhat of a collapse.
The fact is, they're all right. There is not enough money being placed on the various possible causes of autism. There is not enough study. Our government does not collect statistics as well as perhaps someday soon we will, so that in fact we can find out what the true number is, cross-check every aspect of how that number, which is a human being, came to be afflicted.
The federal and state government and other organizations work together in an attempt to help these families, but it is a very daunting challenge. We interviewed Lisa Ackerman, the founder of Talk About Curing Autism, or TACA, to get a more clear view on the effect on the family when a family member has autism.
So, you know, my son was up probably 22 hours a day for about 6 years. And he slept maybe 2 hours a day. So it was very difficult to function, very difficult to hold a job, very difficult to remain married and have other children. The cost of autism is very difficult for families because on average they spend out of pocket every year from year one $60,000 per year. So that's equivalent to sending your kid to college in some cases until you are no longer able to pay. So it can be a huge burden on families. For a lot of families, an autism diagnosis, they know something is wrong and they just don't have a name for it. For mine, it was comfort to have a name, to know what we were addressing. So for me, when I look at an autism diagnosis, it gives it a label that should drive you to service and also action.
Many families depend on federal dollars to offset treatment costs. However, for many families, having a child with autism is a wonderful and rewarding experience. Although most families are hesitant to be interviewed for fear of possible stigmatization or embarrassment, one man, Joseph Hummel, was willing to talk to us about his experience with his son.
Being a parent of an autistic child is great. It actually teaches us patience and the ability to slow ourselves down in our world and connect into our child's own world. If I could ask the presidential candidates any question, it would be based on the numbers of kids that are being diagnosed with autism in the years to come, in 10, 20 years, when these mothers and fathers are no longer around, how are we addressing the issue to have them contribute to society? How are they going to be part of that? And what are families going to do when that time comes? Because at one point, we have to teach our children to be able to function without us. And the higher diagnosis levels that we have now, that more and more kids are being diagnosed with autism, how are they going to be able to contribute to society, keep this country going? We
have autism at an epidemic rate. We're dealing with less funding, and we have a huge influx of children. So the dilemma is not, can they do a good job with what they have? I think they're overwhelmed with the quantity and the number of cases of autism. And the support services just aren't there. The infrastructure is just not there.
But I would like to see presidential candidates just acknowledge this challenge and make sure that everybody's aware and states are following through with making sure that families get the supports they need related to autism or any other developmental disability for that matter.